So we're 3 weeks into this time of getting ready, or if you're to call it preparation, that's what we're into. And 3 weeks of preparing, that's a lot of time. And I'm guessing a lot of you have had a lot of flour go through your hands. You may have had a lot of frosting go on some cookies and maybe in your mouths already. There have been lots of trips to stores to pick various things up. There's been lots of thinking about lists for things that you might like or that someone that you love might like. But it's all about getting ready. So I guess my first question would be, what are we getting ready for? If you take a look at the prep work that you've been doing so far, think about the hours that you spent on it. You're preparing for something, clearly, and that's a good thing. When Christians talk about getting prepared this time of year, it's really about getting ready for Christmas. And then there's folks that aren't Christians or on the periphery, and they also are getting ready for Christmas, but in a vastly different way. Right? Because Target is still swarmed. Yeah? You know? And so is Best Buy, and so is Wally World, and all those places, they are like packed. Their hours are getting longer, and we try to get there so that we can do the right things. But Christians are invited to be part of a conspiracy. Conspiracy in a really, really good way. And we've done it before. We called it Advent Conspiracy, and we followed it to a T, and it was awesome because we were able to do things like get fresh water wells for many communities in Africa. That was great. We got mosquito netting for thousands of people. It was fabulous. But the Advent Conspiracy isn't just about 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. It really is about 365 days. It's about every waking minute and sleeping. The conspiracy goes something like getting together and worship with all your heart, mind, and soul. With everything you got. Whether it be here or someplace else, but kick it, worship it hard, and know that God is going to do it again. God promises just to come through. That baby is going to be born, and mom's going to go through labor pains, and then have an awesome, joyous afterbirth. This conspiracy is about spending less, both literally and figuratively. Maybe spending less time at Shopko, right? Because maybe you don't have to go to all the other places. And spending more time with family or people that you love. It's about giving more. So as we spend less, perhaps, we can actually think about whom we're giving something to. Whom someone that we're giving something to. Rather than just say, wow, I think that they would like fill in the blank. Why not really look at their lives and discover that perhaps an important thing for them is a regular coffee time with a friend. And getting something that they can enjoy with that. I don't know. Go make a coffee mug for them. Lots of opportunities. The other one, there's a fourth, and that's called love all. And loving them all takes its beginning, its root from God. John 3:16, I think actually says it the best, where it says, God so loved the world that he gave this gift of Christmas, his son Jesus, so that all may live through him. That is a pretty spectacular gift to be given. It's like the best one that we could ever get. And yet we have a lead up to that text that we read in John. We have a text from Isaiah chapter 55, and the beginning of this thing that I'm about to read has the word ho as the very beginning. H-O. movies to think about hope. Ho! Right? Scare you. Attention. Right? Or ho. Ho, ho. Right? It's a summoning word. Ho is a call to come out, to be summoned. Ho. Is anybody thirsty? Come and drink. Even if you have no money, come take your choice of wine and milk, because it's all free. Why spend your money on food that doesn't give you strength? Why pay for groceries that do you no good? That's a good question. You should go and look at your pantries. That's a good question. Listen, and I'll tell you where you can get good food that fattens your soul. I mean, that's a really good extra 10 pounds to put on over the holidays, right? That's fabulous, to be able to make our souls fat. We're summoned, we're called out to hear this good news that God has of continued salvation all the time. God doesn't stop creating and God doesn't stop saving. It's sort of His nature, what He's supposed to do. And then that text says that it's all free. Is that reminiscent at all about what we do here? Right? I mean, we start to engage and we go to this table and we are invited to come, we are invited to be part of the table, and then we say, and all of this is God's table and all of it is free because it's God's and then ours, because all of God's gifts are free. Okay, so that's good. And they are. And it's an exceedingly powerful witness. It's one of those things that people remember when they leave this place. That they were welcome at a table, and the gifts there are free. And then anybody can go to it, no matter what your past is, no matter what's going on in your present, no matter the garbage that you carry with you, no matter what the guilt is or the shame is right now, that table's open, and it's free for everybody. And we're summoned to go there. Then we're summoned to listen. Come to me with your ears wide open. Listen, for the life of your soul is at stake. I'm ready to make you an everlasting covenant with you, to give you all the unfailing mercies and love that I had for King David. He proved my power by conquering 4 nations. You also will command the nations, and they'll come running to obey. Not because of your own power or virtue, but because I, the Lord your God, have glorified you. Listening is one of the hardest things in the entire world. Listening means not putting more words into your head during a conversation so that you're ready when it's your turn to talk to be able to refute what was going on and you actually missed everything that was said. Listening means actually not just muting the television, but turning it off when somebody would like to talk to you. Listening means not texting while you're in the midst of a face-to-face. I think that the reason that listening is so hard is because if we listen long and hard enough, we hear ourselves. And I don't like to hear myself too often. Because then you have to see everything and look at what's going on. And that plays into that we're summoned to see. Seek the Lord while you can find him. Call upon him while he is near. Let men cast off their wicked deeds. Let them banish from their minds the very thought of doing wrong. Let them turn to the Lord that he may have mercy upon them, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. This plan of mine is not what you would work out. Neither are my thoughts the same as yours. For just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than yours. Seeing, like hearing, is hard. It takes living in the now, and not in the past or in the future, but actually recognizing what is going on around us and being open to it and responding to it in some special ways. Being able to see means turning away from some of the things that are stumbling blocks between us and our relationships with God. Whatever that might be. You have yours and I have mine. Back in the day, I was a teaching assistant for blind kids at Van Nuys Elementary School for a couple of years while I was in grad school, and it was absolutely fabulous. It may have been two of my most instructive years in my life, potentially. The kids there, as I can still remember them. I saw one this morning. Michael lives somewhere in the Cottage Grove Road and Eastwood Boulevard area. He was standing outside the family restaurant on Cottage Grove Road this morning. The dude is huge. You cannot miss him, and he still uses his cane the way he did was in 5th grade, and you always have to watch out. I seen him bowling. Freaked him out the first time I saw him bowling. So I went over and I said, "Hey, Michael, it's Patrick." Because there was another Pat that worked with us. And he was like, "Patrick from middle school?" Yeah. I mean, that's like more years than I really want to count, I'm sure. And you're not supposed to, they aren't supposed to be like teachers' pets or anything like that, but there was one for me. And I was the only guy on this team. We had, actually she was a nun who was our main teacher. We had 2 mobility teachers, we had 2 braillists, and then 1 other teaching assistant, and they're all girls, women. So I got every gym class and every recess. Awesome. It was great. And in that time, all right, anybody who's in elementary school now or whatever, we had 3 real recesses. Right? 15 minutes in the morning, and added 15 minutes at lunch, and then 15 minutes in the afternoon. And I tell you, it made us learn better. But that's a whole different topic. So 3 times I was going outside every day, and probably doing gym a couple of times every day. And there was this girl named Becky. And Becky was totally blind and was autistic. So she was on that spectrum to the pretty bad side of autism. She had the most beautiful blue eyes you could ever see. And you could see them even though they were clouded over with what looked like a cataract. She had this amazing blonde hair that was one of the places where her autism took her to settle down. And she would take out a ponytail and put it back in, take it out and put it in. But that's not what I want to talk about. So on every recess, all she wanted to do was swing. That's it. And we had those tall chains, like they could really go quite a ways. And she would also say, "Patrick, I want an underdog." just wanted to go. And she would get going, she'd pump and have me do the underduct, and when she got to that pinnacle, she stretched her legs out and her head back and opened her eyes. And I'm telling you, she could see. She could see everything at that point. And I think that sometimes we need to let God see us for everything that we are. I think that that might mean that we lay ourselves out and just reveal our souls. So that not only can God see us, but in return we get to see God. Finally, we are summoned to taste. As the rain and the snow came down from heaven and stayed upon the ground and watered the earth, that caused the grain to grow and produce seed for the farmer and bread for the hungry, so also is my word. I send it out, and it always produces fruit. It shall accomplish all I want it to, and prosper everywhere I send it. Tasting the fruit of your labor is spectacular. Anybody who has a garden knows this. That every pea, every bean, every raspberry, every potato, every cucumber tastes better if you had something to do with it and you know where it came from. God has given us this amazingly special place that we call earth. And He's filled it with food. There is abundant food. There's food for everybody and then some. And yet we have starving people. We have starving people in town. Starving people all over the world, right? So it can't be a God issue. It's got to be a distribution issue. And at some point we should get pretty ticked and do something about it. I don't know what that is exactly, but I think that if people got upset enough, we could figure something out. When we're called and summoned to taste at that table, it does a couple of things. When we have that bread and wine, it reminds us of Jesus being present. Right there. It reminds us of forgiveness. It can remind us of being in a family, in a community that chooses to eat together. It might even give us that little bit of encouragement to go out next week and make a difference. To do something that will impact lots of people. Maybe to do something even countercultural. Like joining a group that brings fresh water wells to little communities in Africa, or mosquito nets, or a llama, or a pig, to various places through ELCA's Good Gifts for World Vision. Maybe what you gotta do, we have to do, is buy our fruits and vegetables and meats from places within 100 miles of here. That seems like it would make sense. It may cost a little money, but we know that we're supporting those people around here. We're summoned. We are summoned to listen and see and taste, and it's all happening in our very midst. And it is exceedingly sensual, meaning it uses all of our senses to do this. See what happens with God when it comes in Jesus. All we have to do is be open to what God asks us to be part of. And to hold on for what may not be the smoothest ride, but it is the greatest ride in the entire world. Amen. Dwight and Teresa wrote this song quite a number of years ago now, right? Obviously based off of our communion liturgy, and now it inspired me to write a piece of that sermon. So when you sing it, just know that you are singing from your heart to a God who loves us very, very much.